So let's talk about some of the birds you met while on vacation.
We, Nancy and I went down to Ecuador and spent some time. We hadn't been there in a little over 20 years. So we took an opportunity to go down there and do a couple of different parts of the country. One, the highlands around the mountains in the Andes, one of the environments. And of course, over into the plain of the Amazon basin on the Napo River. That's another environment. And then out to the Galapagos Islands, another very unique environment.
Yeah.
So, of course, we saw a lot of wildlife down there. A lot of wildlife you just don't have the opportunity to see up here in North America. And that being said, we have a lot of unique species here that you can't see down there. So it's not like, oh, it's always great down there and it's terrible up here. No, it's even.
Yeah.
You can't find most of what we have up here down there. So just to set the record straight, this is a great place to be also. That is one of the reasons people go to the Galapagos.
Yeah, I can believe it. That is
The
cool. Look at those
blue-footed
little-
booby with
That's
eggs.
so cool.
And it's right there on a pathway. When you're down there, these birds have no fear of you. But you're supposed to stay a little ways away from them. They kind of have a little marked path that don't get off the path very far. But this bird was literally 4 feet away from me. I was looking right down at it.
Oh, that's so cool. That's
And,
so neat that they're not afraid
This
of
wasn't
you.
the only one. They were everywhere, just all
Yeah.
over, because it was nesting season. And here's the happy couple posing for the family portrait.
Aw, isn't that cute?
Yeah, I think
love
they
the
were getting
blues
ready
on
to-
their feet and then the blue out in
Yeah.
the ocean. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful.
I think they're getting ready to go out to dinner. They
You
were all,
think so?
all dressed and looking nice. But this is one of the reasons people want to go to the Galapagos. That particular
yeah.
bird is probably the most famous inhabitant of that, along with the giant turtles that are down there.
Wow.
And so we got a chance to see that, and that was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. And there's a lot of other birds when you're walking through these areas that are protected, and you're staying on the path and everything. There's so many different birds, so many species, not just that one bird, all
Yeah.
around you, nesting. We hit it at nesting season. That was great. But there's all
Did
these
you do
types
that
of gulls and
intentionally?
everything, just everywhere.
Or did you know? The nesting season? Did you know it was nesting season when you
Yes.
made your plans? Oh, okay.
One of
So-
the reasons we went at that time of year.
Yeah, I
So-
would think.
But there's other times, if it's not nesting season for that, there's other things to see down there, things moving in the ocean and things. But the birds were very active at this point. And like I said, so many species, I couldn't even name them all. I don't want to try to go down a list or show you a lot of pictures of all the species in the Galapagos, but they're certainly interesting. And it just brought to mind how different the two areas are, up here in the States and down there. But like I said, what's up here in the States is pretty darn nice too.
Yeah.
It's just different. I guarantee you, if some of those guides from down there came up to us, they would freak out at some of the birds we have. They got it pretty nice down there.
Yeah, they do.
This is an interesting
Wow.
bird. And we kept asking people in the group if everybody felt all right, because this is a condor. It's an Andean condor, whose range obviously is the Andean mountains. And it's sitting on a cage. The cage is a very large enclosure, which housed several other condors that were being rehabilitated because of injuries or shots or whatever. And they were also in a captive breeding program since they could still breed. I think they had 6 residents in there in this research area. And at the time, this bird you see is not part of that. It just happened to drop in for a visit.
Wow.
It's like it's visiting a sick friend at the hospital.
Aw,
And we just looked at this, well, it just showed up
that's
to
so
look
neat.
on the other birds.
Yeah.
So we got to see a free-flying condor
Yeah.
out in the wild, untagged, and there it was. That was a nice surprise.
Yeah.
And
what
these
a
people,
great picture.
yeah, are working on their own with research money, very little research money, and donations to work with these birds and try to ensure their preservation, and to take, like I said, the rehab birds and put them into a breeding program, which makes a great deal of sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And then they, of course, release the young. This bird is basically a mockingbird. It's slightly different than ours. The behavior is almost exactly the same. This was right outside of our room on the
Oh,
Galapagos
wow.
Islands. And it's like it was just hanging out. Our little porch area was its favorite hangout. It was always looking for bugs. And we watched this bird for a long time, as scruffy as it is, because its behavior is the same as our mockingbird.
Yeah.
Very little difference. But it is a Galapagos mockingbird. Not terribly rare, but interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's see, who's next? Oh, yeah.
Aw.
You know, sometimes you're just in the right place at the right time, and it's nice when something like this shows up. This bird, as you can see on there, is the lava gull. And at last count, there's only right at 400 pair, period, in the world. That's it.
Wow.
And we did not take a week to track this bird down. We didn't have to
Yeah.
go through the jungle to find it. We were on a walk around the beach area to see other birds, and there it was, right there in front of us. So we got very lucky to get to
Yeah.
see one and got a nice picture. This bird was no more than 10 feet away.
Wow.
It's like, okay,
That
it
is
says, here I am, take a
exciting.
picture, thank you.
Yeah.
So it was nice to actually, while not on a serious birding trip at the time, to see a serious bird that people would actually go there to see. So
Yeah.
That-
That is.
that
And
was
to-
kind of
To
exciting.
know that you've seen something that there
Yeah.
are so few of those in
Yes.
the world.
and that is a low
really-
count for a species of
Oh,
any kind.
absolutely.
400 pair, that's getting really low. So
So was with the whole trip, was the Galapagos the best part of it?
that's like, what's your favorite bird?
Yeah.
You can't, it's
You
hard,
can't
it's hard
say
for me to
that.
say that. It was certainly the most unique part and a part
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen before. I had, like I said, been to Ecuador before. I'd seen the mountainous area and I'd seen the Amazon basin area and the wildlife in both, but I'd never been out to the Galapagos. So because of that, the Galapagos was a highlight of the trip. But certainly cruising by boat down the Napa River, tributary to the Amazon, and being out in that jungle in that pretty wild, desolate place and seeing the wildlife there was incredible.
Yeah.
Getting to visit with some of the indigenous people who still live in the area, really, that was an incredible experience also to meet these people and see how they still live there. And of course, up in the mountains, in the high altitude where we saw the condors, was nice. You see a whole different group of birds.
Yeah.
And you experience the high altitude, which is a little challenging at times.
Mm-hmm.
But all three pieces go together to make a very nice trip. Which one's the favorite? It's hard. You can't really
Yeah.
say, this is my favorite. I can't. It's hard because I like them all.
Yeah.
Like one makes the other better and vice versa. So I find that the same here. I think we were talking earlier, and so, I get to the question of what's your favorite bird? They all are.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to get rid of any of them, even the starlings.
I was going to ask
Yeah.
you, even the starlings, really?
Yeah, even the starlings and all the other birds you don't think much about. They all have a story. They all have a place. They all have behaviors that are different, and they all play off of each other. So how do you get rid of one?
Yeah.
You shouldn't. So I like all of them.
Yeah.